I want to bring in now Robert Clark. He's the Supervisory Deputy for the U.S. Marshals in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Deputy Clark, thank you so much for joining Top Story after a very busy 2 weeks for you. Walk us through the final moments of this mission to capture Calvacante. How were you confident that you had him?
Well, shortly before midnight last night, some of our aerial assets were able to pick up a heat signature, and we believe that was Calvacante moving through the woods. The heat signature was different than things that we've seen in the past, such as deer, fox, and other animals. This more looked like a human silhouette. So everyone was very excited. However, shortly after we obtained that image, severe weather moved in, and that forced our aerial asset down. That's when Lieutenant Colonel Bivens decided to create an inner perimeter around this heat signature, and we would wait until morning when we had better weather and more assets around who we believe Calvacante to go in and effect the arrest. So a little after 8 o'clock, members of the BORTAC and Pennsylvania State Police CERT team were able to get to the area where that heat signature was located. The BORTAC team actually got a visual on Calvacante. He was given verbal commands to come out of the hiding spot that he was in. He did not. He actually he actually started crawling away. And at that point, the tactical canine was released. I believe the canine's first bite was on the crown of his head or on top of the head, which is why you see so much blood in some of these photos. And the second bite was in the lower leg extremity. The dog's a bite and hold dog. So when he bit, I'm sure Mr. Calvacante was in excruciating pain. He then submitted to some of the verbal commands, and the tactical teams were able to take him into custody.
Deputy Clark, I know you gave us a little bit there. Talk to us more about the dog. We know his name is Yoda. He's from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He helped to finally apprehend Calvacante. There's a photo for our viewers. We know he's a Belgian Malinois. Talk to us about how effective these dogs are in a situation like that.
Well, we've had many manhunts here. The state police have had many manhunts with U.S. Marshal Service supporting, and every time we get in a large wooded or urban area, we try to utilize these canines. Their scent is a lot better than what humans can pick up, and they are trained for these type of environments. And we were operating in two extremely tough environments, one around the Longwood Gardens area, one in East Antmeal, and the foliage, the vegetation, the terrain was extremely difficult to operate in, and there were thousands of places to hide. And these dogs help us dial into certain locations where sometimes we can't get to.
And that sort of sets up my next question, Deputy Clark. And I ask this as somebody, who doesn't do what you do, but help us understand, how did a 5-foot fugitive from Brazil outsmart not just local law enforcement, but state and federal law enforcement in a terrain that he did not know?
Well, I don't want to say outsmart. Ultimately, we had a goal, and that goal was to set up a tactical perimeter once he was in an area we believed to be in, cut off his resources, cut off his communication to the outside world, and stress him, make him make mistakes, make him move. And ultimately, that's what Lieutenant Colonel Bivens did. His investigators, along with U.S. Marshal Service investigators, all were on the same page of the tactical plan. The issue is the environment, once again, extremely tough. Longwood Gardens, 8 square mile perimeter, extreme heat the last week that we were operating, number of places to hide. Vegetation is so thick that unless you stepped on them, we would not see them. And ultimately, when we conducted a post-arrest interview, he admitted to those factors, that there were times where, at least 3 times, where law enforcement officers were almost stepping on him, and the area was saturated, so he felt he needed to move locations.
Did he tell you how he was living day to day, how he was drinking water, how he was eating in those dense woods?
He did. So early in the investigation, he stated that he had found watermelons, or a watermelon farm, and he was living off watermelon. He was drinking from the stream. He was moving at night only. The first 3 days, he stated he moved very, very little distance, and every time that he would hunker down, so to say, would be under thick, thick brush, which was almost impassable. Other things that he said was that he obtained a backpack from one of the residences that he was casing. Inside that backpack was a razor. I know a lot of people had questions about how did he get so clean shaven? Was somebody helping him? The simple answer was there was just a razor in that backpack. He moved along the edge of tree lines. He went so far as to hide his fecal matter so that law enforcement wouldn't be able to determine the spots where he was bedding down.
Do we know the story behind the backpack? Is that something that he had someone plant or he just happened to find?
No, not at all. He stated he had taken it from a residence early in his flight. We're not sure which residence it was, but he admitted that backpack was taken very early in the flight.
Finally,
but
Deputy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Ultimately, his end game was to carjack somebody. That's why he needed to obtain a weapon. That's why he held onto that rifle. He said the law enforcement presence was overwhelming in the area of the second perimeter, and he decided he wanted to carjack somebody and head north, either towards Canada or he intended to get to Puerto Rico. So that was his plan in the next 24 hours. So there couldn't have been a better time for us to locate and apprehend him.
And then, Deputy, I mean, you guys, it did take 2 weeks. What did you learn from this manhunt?
We learned that sometimes getting into difficult environments are going to take time. I know I learned under the incident command of Lieutenant Colonel Bivens that the environment doesn't always work to our advantage, and we just have to endure. The Marshal Service put together an incredible investigative team. Should he slip the perimeter, we weren't just hanging around waiting for tips. We used technology. We used resources from our other agencies, and the coalition of law enforcement agencies that participated was just immense. I think the governor said it correct, is this is how government is supposed to work. Law enforcement agencies coming together for a common goal, and that's exactly what happened here. And they had the right gentleman to do it, and Lieutenant Colonel Bivens. He's very experienced, and I was proud to work with him over the past 2 weeks.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.